Hey Flosstube, welcome back to Susan Stanley Stitch in Time. I'm Susan, and I just want to say this is the second take of video number 9. My first stream did not go well. There were a lot of technical issues, and I'm so sorry for those of you who endured it. And those of you who couldn't make it through, I totally understand. So we're going to try this again. There'll be a lot of similar content, but some new content. So if you want to skip over the parts that you already saw or just come catch me next time, I can totally understand. But I'm glad you're trying this out again and giving me a chance to share with you. I feel for those of you who've repeated videos or at least recorded more than once, because it's kind of hard to make it fresh, but I'm going to try. So this floss tube is called What's in a Name, Stitchy Stuff, and Sampler September Plans. And some of you already know a lot of this, but I am a Flosstuber who loves to share information about antique samplers, show you what I'm working on, talk about the quilts that I'm reproducing from antiques, and chat about notions, antique notions, textiles, and all that good stitchy stuff. So thanks for joining me today. And like I said, there's been a fun summer for me, lots of work in the yard, lots of fishing, some more fishing coming in the next week or so, and maybe some whale watching. So the weather's starting to turn. It feels a little bit like fall, but then today it's kind of warm. So, but that tease is there, and I'm ready to do a lot of quality time in my stitching chair and just relax. So anyway, one of the things I love to do in the summer is, of course, get out and do as much exploring as possible. And whenever I explore a new place, I love to check out the needlework shops, the quilt shops, and antique shops. And so this summer I was able to pick something up to add to my collection. And the nice thing about having your video show and then redoing it, finding out it wasn't streaming properly and redoing it, is that any errors you made in the first time around you get to correct. So the first time around, I was sharing some pottery that I like to collect, and I was mispronouncing the name of it. And thank you to Michelle at Mama Loves You GB. She clarified that for me. Anyway, there's a type of pottery I like to collect. I love words. I love phrases. I love language. I'm very keenly interested in all of that and its origins. So these little pieces of pottery have always intrigued me, and my grandmother had collected it as well, so I think that's probably part of what steered me in that direction. But it's called Torquay pottery, and the pieces I have are from England, but I know there are some from Scotland as well, I believe. Some of the phrases are Scottish. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce them or say them, but anyway, they're just charming little pieces of pottery, usually with a cottage or a little country scene. And on the back or the side or the rim, there's usually some phrase. Hoping that's not too glary. This one says, "Say little but think much." And they're usually little admonitions or figures of speech or idioms. Another one, "Make hay while the sun shines." You know what, I'm going to pause this and I'm going to close the blind and make sure that we're not getting too much glare. Okay, I think that might be a little bit better. Another one, I think I showed the first time I did this. "A rolling stone gathers no moss." Just really cute. Some of them are embossed with "Made in England," and some it's just printed on the pottery. Anyway, so the reason I'm showing that to you, because you're thinking, what in the world does that have to do with stitching? Well, the one I found this summer was this beautiful little picture, kind of probably a milk creamer, and it says, "A stitch in time saves 9." And so I call my channel Susan Stanley A Stitch in Time, actually for various reasons. Of course, because of the history, I'm referring to stitching throughout time, stitching across the centuries, all that. None of those sounded quite right, so I just grabbed that, and I think there's a shop with a very similar name. And anyway, my son thought that I named my channel A Stitch in Time because, hey y'all, it's stitching time, and that works too. But actually, and he actually asked me a question when he saw that piece of pottery, and I'll pop this in. I popped it in the first time, but I'm just going to pop it in again. It was so cute. I had him reenact what he said.
Oh, stitch in time saves 9. What does that mean?
All right, so what in the world does that phrase mean? What does that idiom mean? And like I said before, I was trying to explain it to him, and I just said, a timely, taking care of things at a good, timely period will keep it from becoming worse later. Then I looked it up, and pretty much it just says stitching a small tear right away keeps you from having to stitch a massive tear later, because it will grow and grow and grow if you don't take care of it right away. And so it's just an admonition. So why am I telling you all this? Because have always been amazed and kind of curious as to why there are so many phrases in the English language, so many idioms that have to do with sewing and stitching. And I think it's because fabric and cloth and threads have just been a very foundational part of humanity and civilization. And I wanted to share a couple other phrases with you. So, in my lifetime, I've heard the phrase, boy, he'll keep you in stitches, meaning he'll make you laugh forever and ever. Talking about something being the fabric of your life. It's the foundation of your existence. It's something that's very important to you as a person. A thread of evidence. There's a thread of evidence in this case. It's very thin, but it's barely enough information that you might be able to prove your point. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. We've all heard that. Kind of difficult to find, but like finding a sewing needle in a meadow of tall grass. Extremely difficult and challenging, but possibly very worth it. That phrase actually dates back into 1532. So a lot of these are really, really old phrases. And then, of course, spinning a yarn, which is more about knitting, but spinning a yarn, and that's, I love to chit-chat with you all, and I like to spin yarn and talk. So we're cut from the same cloth. And many of you are cut from the same cloth, and I so appreciate you because we share so many common interests, and I'm so glad that I have this format to meet you and get your comments and just learn together. So that's what that was all about, and that's why I shared that little tangent with you. But aside from that, it made me think about these books that I have, and I think Michelle, also Mama Loves You GB, shared the other book that this author wrote. This is Cassia St. Clair's book, The Golden Thread, How Fabric Changed History. And it is along the lines of this concept that fabric is it's such a foundation to our existence as humans. It talks on the back, it says, all textiles begin with a twist, from the colorful 30,000-year-old threads on the floor of a Georgian cave to the linen wrappings of a mummy, and what things meant along the way, and just how lace and calicos and chintz and ruffles and all of these different forms of cloth and fabric have influenced, guided, and been such a part of humanity. So we talk about our lives hanging by a thread and being interwoven by a social fabric. And it's just, I don't know, I just find it kind of fascinating. So if you think that you would like to learn how basically all of human history revolves around fabric, which kind of a nice concept in my opinion, you might like this book. And then of course, another one by Claire Hunter is A History, Threads of Life, A History of the World Through the Eye of a Needle. Another really interesting book. This one takes more, well, I guess they both do, but this one focuses on certain events throughout history and how fabric, fibers, threads were a part of that event or actually helped accomplish something during that time period. The author of this is also a sewer. She's sewn since she was a child. So I think, you know, it's along that same vein. So 2 fun books. Summer's coming to an end. You might have some quiet moments to read with a cup of tea as the days in the yard and outside grow shorter. Unless you live down in the southern hemisphere, and then that's a whole nother story. So I love the language of cloth. I love the significance of cloth. Of course, my world revolves around fabric, fibers, cloth, and threads, and anything that pulls that in makes me very happy. So I do have a finish this time, and I think I shared it on Instagram. It's my drum, the Clara Hansen chart by Liz Matthews. And I finished it into a drum only because of Vanna Pfeiffer's fabulous tutorial. And so I thank her again and again. I just really don't think it would have come out quite this slick without her help. I do wish I'd done something a little more back here, maybe stitched my name or something, but lesson learned. Now I know. The proportions are great. And I used a velvet that I had, a cotton velvet that I had to finish it, and tried to gussy it up with some buttons. So I plan to make the pin cushion that goes along with this. So yay, a finish. And there's that's that gorgeous Gloriana Sage silk floss that I got from the attic, and I have a hank of it, so I'll be doing several projects with it. I kind of like the soft, not the sharp contrast. I kind of like the softness of this with just the low contrast. So anyway, that's my finish. I want to introduce a new Flosstuber to you. She's now, since I am redoing this video, the first time she'd only produced 1 video, but now she has 2. Her name is Katie Strachan, and she is a surface embroiderer. And when I saw her work and watched her first video, I wasn't sure if she was doing stump work, crewel work, and so we've messaged back and forth and had just some great communiques back and forth. Her work is unbelievable, museum quality in my opinion. I'm enamored with it. She's reproducing and creating things from historical pieces. Her interests go back, you know, to medieval times, and I believe before. We'll find out, because she's just starting, but she's definitely worth watching. Her name is K Strachan Embroidery, and I will link her below. Please check her out. Welcome her to the Flosstube community. Another thing I've really enjoyed this summer is lots of stitchy fun things going on. There's lots of exchanges going on and sew-alongs, but the first exchange I want to talk about, the first thing that I've gotten myself involved with, it's just been a ton of fun. You know, I've always used floss drops like this. And then I was exposed to these fabulous thread milk cap floss drops. Now these, I have to say, these are top notch. They are firm, stiff, thick cardboard, and these could easily be reused and used over and over again. And they're all based on a different milk top from different dairies. I think these are they're obviously reproduced. They're not the old. They're not antique, but I do have a jar. I meant to bring that over. A jar of some antique ones. I pick them up when I see them. I just love them. I have a kind of an affinity for cows and all things milky, so these just make me really happy. Super fun. If you go to Lori Wilson's website, Thread Milk, you'll see, I believe there and on her Instagram, she has all her floss on these, and they are a really high quality option. Super strong. But I got myself involved in the Great Floss Drop Exchange that Michelle, Mama Loves You GB, is hosting. And since my first video, these are all the floss drops that I've received in the mail. And they're just gorgeous. I'm getting floss drops from Canada, from England, from many of the states across the country of America. Lovely notes, lovely messages, just connecting with people. Everyone I've talked to and asked, you know, do you want to swap floss drops? Everyone's super excited just to know another stitcher somewhere out there. And anyway, it's just been a blast. If you want more information, Michelle at Mama Loves You GB has great explanations of how the program works. I will say, I'll give you one little thing that Michelle may not have talked about. Maybe she has, I don't know, but I'll tell you anyway. If you want to participate in that, the best way to mail your floss drops to another person and not pay super high postage is to line them up, make them as flat as possible. So if you use a letter size, a legal size envelope, and stack them and wrap them with saran wrap on a piece of paper and kind of tape them in place and then slide them in, as long as they can fit through the chute, you won't be charged as much. I learned that since my last video too, so I thought I'd pass that along. Another fun thing going on this now is, of course, there's the Blackbird Design Sew-Along the first weekend of the month. There's another sew-along that Goldman 63 is hosting, and I believe she's hosting it with someone else, and I'm sorry if I can't remember who that is. But it's the Feathered Friday Sew-Along, and so many of my charts have a feathered friend, have some kind of a bird, and of course everyone knows kind of my affinity to peacocks lately and some of the new charts I've acquired. So I think Friday is going to be my day to stitch something with these feathered friends, with these birds. So I thought that was really fun, and if you didn't know about it, I wanted to let you know. If you participate in any of these events, if you're new to Flosstuber, new to Instagram, if you find the hashtag that the event is associated with, you can go to the hashtag and see all the examples that people have posted. And if you want to post yours and add it to that collection, then you kind of keep them as a group. And it's really fun to go back and see, oh, look at, she's progressed that far, he's doing this, or anyway, it's just fun. Last time, not the number 9 that I'm redoing, number 8 floss tube, I talked about thread and JP coats, and I've had some great interactions with people sharing about their thread, and I actually had a woman contact me this morning about a type of thread that I'm going to do some digging into and try to find out more about it. But that kind of started a fun conversation, and I was so tickled to see that one of the projects from Attic Summer School, the Attic Summer School, involved using a JP Coats label on the inside of a box. And so it's just fun when things connect like that. Okay, so here we are in the entryway to my sewing room, which is kind of crammed, but I'm going to try to show you my spool cabinet, my large one, and then I have a couple smaller ones. But this is the large one that I got recently, well, maybe a year or so ago. I'd been looking and looking for one with this red glass front. And you can see, let me take this out. Sorry, I'm gonna have a jiggle here. You can see all the names of the threads and some of the ones that I talked about in my last floss tube. And I would love to talk about the other ones and talk about those with you and research them. But so I've got this spool cabinet, which is a monster. My husband found this on OfferUp. Actually, I think it was free. It's a little coffee table, which I had planned to paint, but I never did, but it fits perfectly on there. It's secure. The lip of the cabinet is around the edge of the table, so it won't fall off because the thing weighs a ton. And then for now, I've just got, this is my scrap basket, just when I'm finished cutting something and it's too small to save on the shelf, I throw it in there. And that's really fun to just work from. And that gets purged frequently. But sometime I'll do a video on my whole sewing setup. This is another spool cabinet. The drawers most likely did not come together. It's probably missing, this one Crowley's drawer probably went with the cabinet. The other one is from another drawer. So I don't know what was supposed to be there, but... And then we've got this little tiny spool box. And I was so tickled when the attic needlework project that I saw, whoop, okay, this is going to be interesting, had that Clark's label on it, JP Coats label on it. It was so cool. Anyway, just real quick, I don't have a ton of floss because I try to just kit what I need for my projects, but this is my floss storage. This is a very jiggly video and I apologize. I put everything in bags. It's labeled, and if there's some of it out for a project, I slip that in the bag. Because this cabinet is old, I thought I needed to protect the floss. Anyway, that's Cosmos. And then we get into some of the overdyed. You can see I don't have a ton. I have room to grow. As I run out of space, I can put some bins under here with floss as well. My thread organizing and a spreadsheet that tells me where things are. Whoop. And then some floss bags. Hoops. Oh, and I didn't show you my linen. Got some linen. So anyway, that's my spool case and my thread storage. I do have a couple new charts and I forgot to bring them down, so I'll show those to you at some point, but I am now looking when I see charts with thread and spools, I grab them up. And I do know that with my needle, Ellen Chester has a new sampler maker wrap for a large bobbin, a wooden bobbin that involves being a stitcher and all that fun stuff. So I will definitely be adding that to my collection. I've been looking at Needlework Expo. I put my order in, and as those items come in, I'll share what I decided to get with you as well. I do want to tell you about an educational opportunity that's coming up. It's with the Schwenfelder Museum, and that is the museum that I spoke about earlier in the summer that I took some Zoom workshops through. They do have some more workshops coming up in October, and so I will link below their site, if you want to pop over and look at the people speaking, it's not quite as big as the last one, but they all look really great. And if you have an ability to use a computer or laptop and Zoom, you will benefit from the experience. So I highly recommend that. I'm so glad that we have that option right now with everything. And I hope it continues, because it sure has made it easier and easier on the pocketbook to watch these lectures via Zoom instead of travel. So just a plug. All right, well, we are well into September, and I had my first run at this number 9 video, and so far so good. I think this one's going to work. I shared with you all the options, all the potential charts that I was going to pull out for my September soiree stitching plans. And I think September is going to be my favorite month in stitching. It's kind of a hectic month in my life, personal life, but I certainly love seeing all the samplers people are pulling out, all the ideas. I'm being horribly enabled and tempted on a daily basis to with all these gorgeous pieces. So I'll show you what I'm going to work on. I've decided now, so sometime I'll show you all the whips I have. Excuse me. All right, so since that fateful video that didn't work out, I've changed things up a little bit. So if this looks a little different, you are one of those people who's watching this one for the second time. Thank you. And thank you for all those lovely comments. People were so gracious. I was pretty up. I was a little frustrated when it didn't work out, but I guess that's just kind of technology, right? So one of the things I am going to work on, because it came up, is Elizabeth Adelsey. And I had purchased this one. Rebecca first released it, but when Betsy and Nikki Noodle decided to do this as a sew along for Stupid Tumor Sal, and I wrote it on here. I thought, well, now's the time. So I gathered everything together. I had this 40 count Picture This Plus Ren linen, and the color is not showing up too well, but let's see if we can. And I went ahead and I just converted the DMC, the colors that Rebecca had. I had some silks and I went ahead and pulled those, and I think it's going to be fun. And I kind of like this strong pop of blue and the Goldie Cheddar pumpkin-y color. I have not stitched a lot on 40 count, so I'm hoping that it's a really pleasant experience. My friends assure me that I'll be just fine. It's not that different. And Picture This Plus apparently is woven so nicely and tightly that. So that is definitely one of my projects. I've had to rework my schedule for this September soiree as far as how I'm going to stitch things, in what order, and how often. But this one has two little birds, so this one could qualify, in my opinion, for the Feathered Friend Friday sale. All right, there's that one. The next one I'm starting, I had purchased this one and had the attic do a silk conversion. I purchased this sampler because it is housed, the original antique is housed in a museum here. The Jefferson County Historical Society benefited from this, and this chart is housed at the Officers Quarter Heritage Museum at Fort Worden State Park. And I saw Carol Saltbox Stitcher and Christy Crosshatch Quilts show theirs completed, and at that point I was sold. It was it was beautiful. Unfortunately, the covers don't always do it justice. But I am stitching this on 37 count corn tassel with a Verissois. Oh, excuse me, Belle Soie. And these are just really, really nice. Really, really nice silks. It's soft, but then there's some strong, and I think even though that's pretty close, I'm gonna see if I have to switch it out. I'm gonna try a few stitches on the linen before I get going too far. It will be a low contrast or ghosting, kind of a muted palette. Anyway, all right. The next project I'm going to do this month is in honor of my father's 91st birthday, and I think I know that other people are already stitching this. I believe it's Jane, and I will try to look her information up and link her below. I don't know if she's got a sal going, but if she does, I'm going to hop in. It's the Old Scott. I think I've talked about this a little bit. It's my first Hands Across the Sea chart that I'm actually starting to stitch. So I do have several charts, and I talked a little bit about this a couple times ago, and how this just speaks my father to me, and I wanted to do something to honor him, and so, and I think there might be some other people joining me on this. So if there's enough of us, we'll start a hashtag. If not, if there's not one going on already. I've got so many things going. I probably should just pick one and work on it, but I don't know. I like having a variety. And then the last one I'm going to work on is a chart from Modern Folk Embroidery. The Dutch Bird Sampler. And I'm doing this one kind of in honor of my son. I think I talked about it before. He has worked with a lot of raptors as a young person, and been involved in outdoor natural wildlife museums. And I thought this would be a fun one to start. His birthday was in August, but I'm starting it this month in September because of Sampler September. So. And I'm using, whoops, okay, I'm not very organized on this one, I'm so sorry. I am using Russian Tea Cake, 37 count, and I am going to use the DMC. And what I really like about this collection of floss is, I'm sorry, I should have had this all wrapped and ready. I'm so sorry I don't, but is this blue. Oh my goodness. And I'm going to talk about this blue, because this blue is very similar to a blue in textiles that I love, and I think it'd be fun to talk about. But as I get stitching on this, I'll share a little bit more about that. So those are my September Sampler Soiree plans. Need to be diving down. I have received some Stitchy kindness, but it fits in really well with what I want to talk about next month, so I think I'm going to save it. So if you've sent me something, never fear, I will share it with everybody, and I do thank you for that, and it's super, super nice. But honestly, I just do this because I love it. So I'm thrilled. Anybody who enjoys it as well makes me happy. So as far as what else have I've been working on, I have been working on my trick or treat basket blocks. I'm getting a stack. It's getting there. I have a whole lot more to go. I have these ones prepped, and I need to stitch them down. So it'll take me some time to get through these, but I'm just plugging away. My Civil War Bride quilt is still on the go, and I am going to talk a little bit more about that next month because it fits in, or next time I film, because it fits in with what I want to share with you. So thank you again for coming to visit me, for coming back. For those of you who endured the first run of video number 9, with all its skips and bumps, and watched it all the way through, oh my goodness, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry to those of you who watched it and said, I just can't do it. And thank you to those of you who let me know. I thought it was just something with the editing. I thought it would smooth out, and it certainly did not. So I think the problem's fixed, and I won't have that happen again, but thanks for coming along and enjoying some fun stitchy stuff with me. September's going to be a fun month for me. It's going to be a lot of stitching and some outdoor plans as well. So let's hope I can get it all fit in and enjoy it in the meantime before the weather changes and it starts raining and the options of going outside aren't there as much. So until next time, make sure you make time to stitch, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.